Hello, folks. My name is Weber. I would like to share with you a book called Valley of the Birtail that I just read recently. It is written by Canadian authors Sindman and Sanderson. It's a great book. It's set a series of stories about the Towvoice family in Wavay-Sikapo, an Indian reserve beside the town of Rossburn, Manitoba. Reading through the life of this different people from the reserve and the Canadian government official with all the residents in the area has really assembled some 200 years of history in western Manitoba of this unfair treatment the government has done to the Indian. Like from the different view of signing treaties to the horrible education, including like residential school, um, integrated education, and like passing permits, there are way too many systematic discrimination against the Indian. Yet, the Indian shows their bravery and resilience on getting a better life. Like one shocking facts to me after reading the book was the different attitude of integrating the Ukrainian immigration and the indigenous people to this Anglo-Saxon society of Dominion Canada in the early day. Like during the process that's called assimilation with Canadian, the unique culture was seen and treated very differently from the previous Brandon Mayer's shift in action. Like he would celebrate the Ukrainian dance and embrace the multicultural society, but the traditional inhabitants of the land are forced to drop out of the legacy and heritage. They can't travel to powwow and dance, which is a party that connects them to the Mother Earth. The governments fear the indigenous culture as like an obstacle to join them. This are doing everything they could to dismiss the culture. Like the Indian parents have to send the kids far away to residential school. The school forbidden these kids to speak their own language. Um, at the time, the government general twin swing quote for Ukrainian, he doesn't believe any people can be strong unless they remember and keep in touch with their past. The traditional are all valuable contribution toward the Canadian culture, which cannot be copied of any old thing. It must be a new thing created by the contribution of like all these elements. And I think it should apply to the Indian too. Like the difference in treatments having it have a compounding effect and immigration. Like in my opinion, it create a bad circle that changed the Indian and reserve with poverty forever. Like from education to work, Indian has been trying hard to get a good life, yet the children has been offered bad education from the early day of residential school, then the failure of integrated education, and then they have to have their own school in reserve, which is like systematically underfunded. Things like farmers in reserve can't sell their crop and cattle, like lawyer were basically banned from helping clients in the reserve. All of these are just real barrier that set them behind and put them in the assisting program. But people outside of research don't see it. What they see is they're being taken advantage of. People are not being able to communicate and sees the difficulty of like food security, employment discrimination, and all these other things that actually hinder the parents in the reserve to send their kids to the school. The policy are broken. The actual welfare given to the Indian is just the patch. A complete reformation of policy is needed. Like Hayter, for example, like in the early day, was a soldier and a lawyer when he drafted a lot of this policy toward Indian. But his bias, his policy don't see the Indian as equal person. Same as Moraes when he signed all the treaty, which is like in English and essentially a submission of the Indian surrounding all the right. Like this is not a partnership. It will not bring the nation together. It's not until the recent year the government realized they did it wrong. I think the writer found some really great example here. Marie, which is like the current generation of the Towvoice family, who received adequate education and have a really bright future. Her teacher Nelson proved that if you step out, like just across the river and learn about people in reserve, you can really see they're struggling, right? That is what people needed. There's still chance for the nation to get together, like how the English and the Francophone find a way to cope with each other. The recent years of government making the reconciliation is a great start, but I think the reconciliation process has just started and it has a long way to go.